The untold story of the Apostle Philip, shocking reasons the Holy Spirit guided him to the desert. Few knew what truly happened that night. It was dark, and the air was electrifying with an unshakable tension. The stars burned like unblinking eyes overhead as Philip stood there, heart racing. Why had he been sent into the wild, unkempt desert? The silence was suffocating, as if the land itself was holding its breath, waiting for something extraordinary. He remembered the hushed whispers of the crowds back in Jerusalem. The prophecy hung in the air like smoke, visions of men crossing great divides, led by the very breath of God. Philip had once been just a figure among them, a humble servant of Christ. Now, he was suddenly alone, feeling the weight of the Holy Spirit's call. In this barren land, where nothing grew, miracles brewed beneath the surface. The sun scorched his skin, each grain of sand beneath his feet felt like a reminder of how far he'd come, not just from Jerusalem, but deeper into his own faith. He could almost hear the echoes of distant voices, a symphony of hope and despair entwined. But then, the air shimmered and shifted. A figure appeared, bright as lightning, and Philip's breath caught in his throat. Who was this being hollering secrets of the universe, manipulating time and space? How did he find him here, in this desolation? It was a contradiction: light amidst darkness, certainty amidst uncertainty. Philip felt a tightness in his chest as the figure opened its mouth, revealing mysteries of the kingdom that could shatter worlds. "Do you feel the depths of your mission?" it asked, voice echoing as though it carried the weight of angels. A lump formed in Philip's throat as he faced his destiny. But doubts lingered like shadows. Was he truly worthy? Or was this a cruel trick of the mind? The choice before him felt monumental, gravitational, like the weight of eternity. As the sand began to swirl around him, he fought the urge to flee, to question everything. Could he dare to follow the Spirit's guiding hand into the unknown? The tension was unbearable. Silence erupted into chaos, leaving him trembling in uncertain anticipation. What transformation awaited him in the desert? What trials lay ahead, waiting to test his faith to its very core? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Philip's heart raced as the brilliant figure loomed before him, shimmering with an otherworldly light. The intensity of the presence poured over him like golden rain, yet a chill ran down his spine. Was this a messenger of God, or a manifestation of his deepest fears? The desert, once mere arid land, transformed into a living canvas of purpose and potential. "Will you listen?" the figure asked, piercing through the stillness like a sword. There was a weight to the question, as though the very fabric of creation hung in the balance, swayed by Philip's response. He closed his eyes tightly, drawing in the dry air, tasting the grit on his tongue. The stillness was profound, yet the question reverberated within his soul, compelling him to consider what lay beyond his own doubts and hesitations. "Yes," he eventually whispered, his voice barely breaking the silence. He felt small, yet somehow filled with a burgeoning power, a spark of determination igniting. The figure drew nearer, illuminating the cave-like cracks in the earth that seemed to pulse with promise, and Philip sensed the pulse of something divine, something raw and untamed. Just beneath the surface, suddenly, the scene around him began to shift. Like a kaleidoscope spinning, the sand formed into visions, images of people from various nations, their lives intertwined with his own in ways he could scarcely comprehend. "Look deeper," the being implored, and Philip felt his heart open as he gazed into the swirling tableau. He witnessed men and women wrestling with despair, seeking truth amidst the rubble of their lives, yearning for answers he had yet to find himself. "What is my purpose in all of this?" he murmured, as frustration and hope clawed at the edges of his heart. The figure smiled, an expression that felt both reassuring and impossibly profound. "You are a bridge, dear Philip, a conduit for the Spirit's will. The path is not just for you, but for those waiting to hear the word. The reality of this mission washed over him like a tide, stirring something deep within, a recognition that his encounter was not solely for his own benefit but a prelude to transformation for many others. Yet, fear crept back into his heart. What if he faltered? What if the words he spoke didn't carry the weight of his faith or the promise of God? The essence of the wilderness surrounded him, silent witnesses to his struggle. The wind picked up, sending whispers through the dry brush. It felt as if nature itself was urging him onward. With every beat of his heart, the vastness of the desert reflected the enormity of his calling. In that moment of clarity, Philip remembered his time with the disciples in Jerusalem, the fervor of the Spirit igniting each gathering, each moment of prayer. He could not deny that he had changed, that his faith had grown deeper, yet the fear of failure loomed large, a specter he could not shake. "Be not afraid," echoed the presence, stirring the very air around him. "For your doubts are seeds, and from them, faith grows. It is through struggle that you will become who you were meant to be." With those words, the light radiating from the figure intensified, merging with the desert's horizon, leaving traces of brilliance behind. Philip felt a call to action rising within him. Would he trust not only in the words he carried but in the unseen hand guiding him through? As the swirling sand settled and clarity returned, Philip stood at the crossroads of doubt and faith, poised on the edge of a revelation that could change everything. What awaited him beyond this moment? Would the Spirit guide him onward as he took his first steps into the unknown? The answers lingered, tantalizingly just out of reach. As the echoes of the figure's voice faded into the windswept dunes, Philip felt a new current course through him. The stark reality of the desert, once intimidating, now enveloped him like an embrace filled with purpose. He took a moment to center himself, his heart still quickening with the realization of who he was meant to be in the grand tapestry of faith. With hesitant steps, he ventured deeper into the heart of the wilderness, the warmth of the sun transforming the harsh landscape into a realm of possibilities. Shapes danced in the distance, mirages, or perhaps visions of the work he was destined to do. His surroundings seemed alive, the whispers of the wind carrying secrets long hidden beneath the sands. He recalled the faces of the sick and downtrodden he had encountered in Jerusalem, the fervent prayers they shared, and the collective longing for a savior that could transform their lives. Each face now felt like a thread woven into his very being. He was connected to them through shared hope and desperation for divine intervention. The weight of this connection rested heavily on his shoulders, imbuing him with a fierce need to convey the truth he had discovered. As he continued walking, the sun began its descent, casting long shadows that stretched across the landscape like fingers reaching for the unseen. Here, in this desolate beauty, he understood that his journey had a dual purpose: to find himself and to carry the message of hope to those whose hearts remained locked in darkness. But who would guide him, and how would he know which path to take? The evening light flickered with the illusion of stars being birthed before his very eyes, encapsulating the divine mystery he sought to understand. "Guide me," Philip murmured into the growing dusk. "Do I seek among treasures of knowledge, or do I listen to the heart that beats within me?" In answer, the very air became infused with a soft glow, illuminating a solitary figure in the distance. It was a mere silhouette against the horizon, yet the promise of convergence beckoned with an almost celestial allure. He quickened his pace, excitement mingling with trepidation, eager yet anxious about what he might find. As he approached, Philip could make out the figure more clearly: a traveler cloaked in deep blue, a color that reminded him of the endless sky above him. There was an otherworldly peace surrounding this traveler, a tranquility that seemed to envelop the very wind. Philip hesitated, fear of the unknown tightening his chest, but in that moment he felt the familiar whisper of the Spirit urging him to bridge the gulf of uncertainty. "Do not fear," the traveler spoke, as if sensing Philip's turmoil. The voice was gentle, yet it resonated with the authority that claimed his heart. "Your quest does not begin with understanding, it begins with listening." "What do you mean?" Philip asked, the words spilling forth in a blend of confusion and hope. "Nations will rise, and nations will fall, but the truth you seek is not for the eyes but for the heart. Lead those lost in the wilderness not through the wealth of your knowledge but through the authenticity of your faith." The traveler paused, and for a brief moment Sarah felt the weight of many past experiences surge around him: the dinners shared, the teachings spoken, the burdens carried together with fellow disciples. Each memory flickered like a candle against the backdrop of uncertainty, shining light on the path before him. Will you cast aside the weight of perception and embrace the call to inspire, even when you are unsure? The traveler continued, fixing Philip with a gaze that seemed to pierce through the veil of his doubts. A wave of understanding washed over him, stirring the dormant courage in his heart. It was more than a task or an assignment, it was a relationship, a compassionate bridge between him and those yearning for connection. As the crisp night air settled, he grappled with a question. How could he possibly convey such profound truths to others when he himself felt the tremors of unknowing? Will you join me? The traveler offered, extending a hand that seemed to shimmer with potential. In that moment, Philip stood at yet another crossroads, caught between familiarity of fear and the exhilarating prospect of faith. Would he step forward, embrace the call, and risk it all for a story he could not yet fully comprehend? How daring would he be to weave his spirit into the tapestry of the unknown? As Philip gazed at the outstretched hand of the traveler, a cascade of emotions washed over him: wonder, uncertainty, and a spark of conviction. How many times had he hesitated at the precipice of faith, longing for the gentle push that would propel him into a greater understanding of his place in the world. The glowing hand beckoned him, filled with warmth and promise, yet he lingered, wrestling with the remnants of doubt. Who are you? Philip finally asked, his voice steadying as the questions guided his heart forward. Was he unworthy of such an invitation? Had he earned the right to step into the greater narrative of faith woven by the divine? The traveler smiled, and a lightness danced in his presence, as if the very air around him vibrated with purpose. I am but a guide in this wilderness, an echo of the truth that calls you deeper into communion with the Spirit. All who wander have the potential to carry the flame of understanding into the darkness. As the shadows deepened, the world around them shifted subtly, revealing the ethereal nature of the nighttime desert. Stars unfurled like a blanket overhead, constellations glimmering with stories of those who had come before him. Each twinkle, a testament to the journeys that forged faith from struggle, resilience, and divine revelation. If the truth is in the heart, Philip pondered aloud, what do you seek to illuminate in me so that others might also see? The traveler released a quiet sigh, as if responding not just to Philip's words but to a collective yearning buried within humanity. The journey to understanding is often fraught with questions, my friend. You will pose the inquiries that unlock faith for many still lost in the desert of their own doubt. There is no definitive path laid before you, it will twist and turn as you seek, but your willingness to ask is a lantern for those in need. Philip felt a stirring in his chest, a call to embrace the journey of both seeker and seeker of seekers. He thought of the faces ignited by hope, their dreams shimmering like the stars above. He recalled the sick, the outcast, the weary. Am I prepared? He whispered, vulnerability creeping into his voice. Beneath his aspirations lay the gnawing questions of adequacy. The traveler tilted his head, the depth of his eyes shimmering with knowledge unbounded by time. None are fully prepared, yet all are called. You will stumble, you will falter, but every step taken in faith becomes a part of the greater story being woven, a narrative that intertwines your spirit with the essence of all who await transformation. Stirred by the traveler's words, Philip perceived the weight of their implications. How could he, so imperfect and indecisive, be an instrument of such profound change? Yet therein lay a whisper of assurance, a gentle nudge that encouraged him beyond his reservations. In a fateful moment, Philip reached out and clasped the traveler's hand, feeling the energy surge through him as if the pulse of the universe synchronized with his own. A breathless excitement rose within him, igniting a sense of purpose unlike any he had felt before. Let us walk together then, Philip declared, steeling himself against the unknown. With each step taken under the celestial watch of the stars, the ambience changed, an electric anticipation crackling in the air, as if inspired by an invisible force preparing to unveil the sacred mysteries of the journey ahead. Yet, even in that moment of courage, an unsettling thought fluttered in the depth of his mind. What awaited him around the bend, and would his faith endure when faced with the flames of adversity? What trials might strip down the layers of his understanding, forcing him to confront the core of his beliefs? Would he truly be able to inspire those gnawing at the edges of despair, finding hope amidst their tribulations? As they walked deeper into the desert, the shadows embraced them, whispering secrets yet to become tangible truths. Philip's heart raced with excitement, hope, and lingering questions. The path before him was fraught with uncertainties. Yet he knew one thing for certain: the journey had only just begun. As the soft sands shifted beneath their feet, the traveler led Philip deeper into the heart of the desert. The air shimmered with an otherworldly glow that enveloped them, transforming the mundane into the miraculous. Each step felt heavier yet lighter, caught between the realm of the known and the unfathomable mysteries that lay ahead. "Tell me, guide," Philip ventured, his curiosity aflame, "what awaits us in this vastness? What lessons does the desert hold for those who seek?" The flicker of doubt still lingered within, pushed into the recesses of his mind like the shadows that dance along the dunes. The traveler paused and turned to face him, the light surrounding his being brightening momentarily as if illuminated by a divine spark. "The desert," he began, "is a place of revelation, a crucible where one confronts both the barrenness and the abundance within. In its silence, there is a voice; in its emptiness, a fullness of good gifts awaiting transformation." As they continued onward, a collective silence settled around them, punctuated only by the soft sigh of the cool wind stirring the sand. It carried whispers of those who had traversed this lonely expanse before, prophets, wanderers, and seekers of truth who had either faltered or thrived under the weight of their journeys. "Has anyone ever truly returned unchanged?" Philip asked, suddenly aware of the weight of history surrounding them, the sacrifices made, the revelations processed. "Do those who encounter the divine turn away wholly new?" The traveler smiled knowingly, and his eyes sparkled under the vast sky. "That depends on how one defines change. Encountering the divine is an invitation to transformation, but the heart must be willing to receive. The same sand that covers your feet can also unveil treasures hidden deep within oneself, a buried purpose, a passion ignited by suffering and grace. Every heart learns its own language of faith, unique yet universally understood." Pondering this, Philip felt a surge of hope mingling with apprehension. The idea of transformation ignited a question in him, one that fluttered on the edges of his consciousness. "And what if I were to falter on this path? If challenge begets doubt, can my faith emerge anew from the ashes of uncertainty?" "Doubt is not the absence of faith," the traveler replied, his voice steady, "but the soil in which faith may take root. It is in the struggle that the deepest truths often arise. In times of trial, your authenticity shines brightest, and through your vulnerability, others may find their own strength." As they moved past a particularly grand dune, Philip felt the coolness of the night air whispering against his skin, refreshing and bolstering him with each breath. He looked up at the stars, woven into the fabric of the night, a tapestry of stories unfolding the sacred and the ordinary. Each point of light seemed to beckon forth a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all souls walking their unique paths through darkness toward that flickering flame of hope. "Yet I am but one voice in a sea of voices," he murmured. "Will my message resonate, or be lost amid the clamor of others?" The traveler clasped Philip's shoulder gently, grounding him yet again in that moment. "Every voice has its significance. The resonance lies not merely in the volume but in the authenticity of that which is shared. When your heart sings the truth of your experience, it reverberates within others, echoing the universal quest for understanding. Even the faintest whispers can guide those still lost in shadows." As thoughts swirled in Philip's mind, a flicker of clarity emerged, illuminating concepts that had once seemed like distant dreams. The idea of shared journey sparked a determination within him, but still, uncertainty loomed, an ever-present horizon cloaked in mystery. What, then, makes one journey worth traveling? He wondered quietly. Would it be the destination, the companions met along the way, or the lessons learned through trials? As the captivating landscape loomed before him, he realized that the answers were bathed in layers of his own unfolding story. In that moment, the traveler paused, allowing the silence to envelop them like a warm embrace. The worth of a journey lies not in its end but in its unfolding, he said at last, his voice softening. Faith will guide you, but it is your willingness to embrace both the beauty and tumult of each step that defines its value. It is enough to walk forward, the rest shall reveal itself in time. With a heart filled with anticipation and uncertainty, Philip took a deep breath. The path ahead seemed to stretch into infinity, dark yet inviting, concealing the uncharted territories of the spirit. In a world laden with questions, could he truly accept moments of struggle as gifts rather than burdens? And what deeper truths lay just out of reach, waiting for him to uncover? As the duo wove deeper into the vibrant canvas of the desert, the soft, cool sands beneath their feet transformed into a jagged expanse of shattered stone and resilient scrub. The traveler's pace quickened, as if the shifting landscape was urging them onward, towards a hidden destination steeped in ancient whispers of divine intervention. Tell me, traveler, Philip ventured, a spark of defiance igniting within him. Am I to find answers in this barren land? Do shadows reveal wisdom, or do they merely mock the seeking heart? The traveler glanced back, his expression a tapestry of knowing. Sometimes the shadows hold gifts, Philip. They dare you to look deeper, to confront what is obscured by your own fears. The light and the dark are threads interwoven in the fabric of faith. One cannot illuminate without the other. As Philip considered his guide's words, he marveled at the interplay of light and shadow dancing across the rocks. He felt like a fragile flower rooting amidst thorns, unyielding yet aware of the thorny defenses around him. What lurked beneath the surface of his own soul, still buried within the depths of doubt? I long to embrace this journey fully, he confessed. Yet the currents of uncertainty are great. Is it possible that beneath our desires for clarity, the unknown is where true growth resides? The air grew still for a moment, as if the universe paused to listen to his query, and then the traveler nodded knowingly. Every soul yearns for certainty, yet in the unknown is where the spirit is stretched and shaped. It is there that you may discover not only who you are but also whose you are, the heart of divine belonging. Embrace the questions that arise, they could be the very keys to divine encounters. As they rounded the crest of a large dune, a profound silence enveloped them, broken only by the distant echo of a lone bird. Philip gazed across the expansive desert, where the horizon kissed the unforgiving sky. In each grain of sand, he imagined the history of lives lived and lost, the prayers whispered into the wind that never dissipated but rather layered themselves into the fabric of eternity. Is it fear of the unknown that binds us, traveler? Philip asked, his voice a gentle caress against the stillness. What if my cries for clarity echo back as silence? The traveler stopped and turned, allowing the dawn's first light to cast a golden hue across his features. Silence is often a precursor to revelation, my friend. Do not mistake it for absence. Instead, it is an invitation to listen, to attune your spirit to the frequencies of the divine. In silence, the heart learns to perceive beyond sight and sound. Here, the sacred reveals itself. This new understanding stirred a wave of restlessness in Philip. Then what must I do in that silence? How does one make sense of a world filled with shadows, where faith feels like a delicate balance on the precipice of despair? Trust the process of unknowing, the traveler replied, his words flowing with profound wisdom. There is strength in vulnerability. As you seek truth amid uncertainty, each breath becomes an act of faith. Follow your longing, for it is the thread that guides you through. The path will unfurl before you, even as you walk in darkness. With a heart filled with anticipation and fear, Philip felt himself standing at the meeting point of promise and peril. Could he truly embrace faith amid contradictions? With the dawning light illuminating his path, he realized he stood poised between a vast depth of unanswered questions and the faint stirrings of clarity. Would my journey be as much a testament of my faith as it is a revelation of my fears? He mused, the question hanging in the balance, unfurling like the sands beneath his feet. Each step forward echoed within him, amplifying the reality that sometimes, the journey's worth lies not in resolutions or destinations but in the sacred conversations held amid shadows and silence. As they pressed forward, the wind began to sway around them in a soft, melodic dance, almost as if urging Philip to listen closely with each gust carrying whispers of knowing. Would he find the courage to embrace the unknown and speak the truths buried deep within? What awaited him beyond the horizon, in the vast expanse of faith interwoven with doubt? The answers loomed like distant stars, waiting to guide his way through the darkest of nights. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the heat began to weave its way into the very fabric of the desert. Philip and his enigmatic guide continued their trek, navigating through lonesome hills and valleys that seemed to pulse with life beneath a harsh exterior. The beat of the earth resonated with a rhythm known only to those who dared to listen, and Philip felt himself drawn deeper into this sacred wilderness. "Tell me, traveler," Philip implored, the question brimming with urgency, "what is it that I must uncover here? Is it my own heart, or perhaps the heart of God that waits in the shadows?" The traveler gazed at Philip, an enigmatic smile playing upon his lips. What if both are intertwined? To know your heart is to glimpse the divine, and vice versa. In this place, the veil is thin, your spirit can embrace the whispers of truth. But be cautious, for revelations can stir the depths of your soul. A sudden wind picked up, blustering around them like a swirling concentration of unseen spirits. Philip closed his eyes momentarily, letting the desert's breath wash over him, each gust carrying the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the earth's mystery. What must I ask to receive these revelations? He pondered aloud. Perhaps start with the question that awakens your spirit, the traveler replied, his voice steady. What holds you captive? What are you afraid to shed, even as it weighs upon you? Philip pondered this new prompt intensely, remembering the shadows of doubt lurking at the edges of his heart, fear of inadequacy, the longing for acceptance, the desire for clarity in the face of faith's myriad complexities. It is the fear of failing in my purpose, the worry that I might not be enough in the eyes of those I cherish, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Good, the traveler encouraged, a glimmer of approval in his gaze. Acknowledge this fear. There is liberation in facing those hidden corners of your heart. This land thrives on confrontation, it relishes seeking. Here, every step is a choice, be it toward light or shadow. As they continued their hike, they stumbled upon a solitary rocky outcrop where an ancient olive tree sprawled out, its gnarled branches fighting against the oppressive sun. Philip approached it, the tree standing as a testimony to relentless endurance despite the harshest of environments. Does it not embody struggle and perseverance? He mused aloud, contemplating how even the most arid places could yield life. The traveler nodded, indeed. It is a reminder that, despite the odds, growth often emerges from hardship. Just as the tree roots itself deep into the earth, drawing nutrients from unseen sources, you too must ground yourself in faith. Reaching for what transcends mortal understanding can bring forth resilience. With that, Philip sank to his knees, drawn by an urge to connect with the earth beneath him, as if hoping it would echo the resilience of both the tree and his own spirit. What does it mean to grow beneath the weight of fear? He asked, looking toward the sky with eyes wide open, silently yearning for answers. Growth is a dance of surrender and trust, the traveler answered, kneeling beside him in reverence. To grow while cradled in fear is to accept the call of uncertainty. It is in these fragile moments that the power of faith emerges, illuminating the path even when the steps are unclear. Like the olive tree, your roots must dig deep, while your branches yearn for the light. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue across the landscape, Philip felt a flickering flame awaken within him, an ember of conviction that previously lay dormant. He could sense a shift, a burgeoning recognition that perhaps the journey indeed held the answers he sought, but not the neat resolutions he desired. The raw, untamed beauty of the desert echoed the complexity of his faith, urging him to embrace it fully, to flourish in the paradox of his fears and hopes. Yet, as night slowly draped its indigo veil over the desert, Philip's heart thudded with unfinished questions. Could he truly embody the essence of faith while grappling with fear? Was surrender the first step towards uncovering his purpose, or was it merely the threshold of greater unknowns ahead? The stars above blinked like distant promises, leaving him to ponder the infinite mysteries that awaited him beyond the horizon. What peace could be found in such embracing of uncertainty? Would clarity arrive with dawn, or would the dance of faith and doubt continue to intertwine with each step he took? As the night settled over the desert, a stillness enveloped Philip and his guide. The world around them transformed beneath the moon's soft glow, casting long shadows that danced across the sands like whispered tales of the ancients. The air, now cooler, hummed with an energy that seemed to pulse against their skin, drawing them closer to the heart of the wilderness. "Look up, Philip," the traveler urged, gesturing toward the celestial tapestry above. "The stars are not merely decorations but echoes of stories long forgotten. Each point of light is a reminder of the divine weaving its presence into the fabric of our existence, connecting us to those who have come before." Philip followed the movement of his guide's hand, his eyes wide as he took in the grandeur of the universe. "What stories do they tell?" he wondered. "What truths lie beyond the brilliance of their light?" "The stars are symbols of hope, each one a testament to resilience," replied the traveler, his voice softer now, as if speaking of things sacred. "They remind us that even in darkness, there exists a light that guides. It is in our suffering and silence that we might find the whisper of the divine." With these words lingering in the air, Philip felt a stirring within himself, a connection to something vast and timeless. "But how do I hear those whispers?" he asked, yearning for deeper understanding. "How do I discern the truth amid the chaos of my own fears?" "Silence is your ally, young seeker," the traveler said, motioning for him to sit upon the cool earth. "In the silence, you will encounter the conflicts that live within your heart. This is not simply a journey through the desert but a pilgrimage into the depths of your soul. Embrace the quiet, let it reveal what the clamor of life has hidden." Nervous but resolute, Philip closed his eyes, breathing deeply of the desert air scented with ancient earth. The silence wrapped around him like a cloak, and he felt the weight of his fears settle in his chest, the worry of unfulfilled promises and unrealized potential swirling like shadows. He focused on his breath, allowing it to anchor him in this moment, this sacred space of listening. As he sat in stillness, images flooded his mind, memories of his loved ones, their laughter, their hopes for him, and the relentless tide of expectations that rolled upon him like waves breaking upon the shore. Fear wrestled with a burgeoning sense of purpose, and Philip felt vulnerable, exposed, standing at the crossroads of destiny and doubt. Can fear be a part of faith? He whispered into the night, seeking an answer that remained elusive. Can it coexist with the divine? As if in response, a gentle breeze stirred around him, caressing his skin like a lover's touch. It carried with it the sighs of ages, each whisper weaving through the night air. The traveler remained silent, watching over him as Philip continued to delve deeper into his thoughts, unaware of the transformation taking place within. And the quietude, a flicker of clarity blossomed, a dawning realization that perhaps fear was not the enemy he had fashioned it to be, but rather a humble companion on this journey. It reminded him of his humanity, that every beloved figure in sacred narrative had faced darkness and uncertainty. Even they had doubts, he thought, recalling moments of trepidation from the scriptures, and yet they forged paths of faith. As the first slivers of dawn began to color the horizon, Philip opened his eyes, awash in the radiance of a new day. The night had surrendered to the soft embrace of morning, but the questions remained, suspended like the last stars fading from view. How would he learn to walk hand in hand with his fears? What lessons might emerge from the surrender to uncertainty? With these thoughts woven into the dawn's fabric, he felt an invitation beckoning him forth. What hidden layers of purpose awaited him in the uncharted territories of his heart? And as he stood to face the unfolding day, would he seize the courage to confront his fears, embracing the journey that lay ahead despite its unknowns? As dawn broke gently over the horizon, Philip's heart raced with anticipation, a new energy coursing through him. He felt as if the universe itself had conspired to offer him this moment, facing the glories of the day while carrying the weight of his fears. The traveler, a watchful presence, motioned for him to rise and continue their journey. Look deeper into the desert, Philip, the traveler encouraged as they began to walk. Each grain of sand speaks of trials endured and lessons learned. The wilderness is not merely barren, it is rich with revelation. With every step, you have the potential to uncover the stories hidden beneath your own heart's surface. As they walked, The world seemed to come alive around them, wildflowers daring to bloom against the harsh backdrop of the desert, lizards darting to and fro, and the sun casting playful patterns in the shadow of ancient rocks. Philip admired the resilience of life in such a stark environment, feeling a kinship with the tenacious flora and fauna that thrived despite their circumstances. Why does the divine choose desolate places for revelation? Philip asked, hunger for wisdom sparking in his voice. Why did the Holy Spirit lead us here, to the very heart of the wilderness? The traveler paused, contemplating. In solitude and struggle, one may hear the sacred call more clearly, he said finally. The desert strips away distractions, revealing the core of our being. It is both a crucible and a sanctuary where faith can be forged in the fires of doubt. Just as this land seems harsh, it is in the testing that God's love becomes tangible. They trudged onward, Philip feeling the weight of the traveler's words settling deep within him. Every step felt significant, a testament to the struggles he carried and a beacon of the resilience he sought to embody. He considered the lives of figures from the scriptures, their wilderness moments, long-forgotten moments that shaped them into who they were to become. What becomes of those who wander? Philip inquired, the thought pressing heavily on his mind. Those who search but do not find. Are they not lost, forever seeking a sign? The traveler looked upon Philip with a knowing gaze. Even in their searching, they cultivate faith, he replied. Devotion is rarely linear, it is an unfolding journey where paths intertwine unexpectedly. Even when one feels lost, there is purpose in the weaving of questions and the exploration of uncertainties. Often, it is through the haze of confusion that clarity ultimately shines brightest. Inspired, Philip felt an urge to embrace the uncertainty rather than fear it. He could see now that the wilderness was a mirror reflecting not just his inner turmoil but the divine design intricately woven through all threads of existence. Suddenly, the landscape shifted. Ahead, a towering rock formation loomed, bathed in the golden hues of the rising sun. As they approached, Philip noticed inscriptions upon its surface, symbols weathered by time. The traveler placed a hand upon the rough stone, eyes alight with recognition. These markings tell of a time when men sought the truth in the depths of their struggles, he explained. Each etching speaks of a prayer, a longing, a pledge inspired by a divine mystery that draws humanity toward greater understanding. Reflect upon these words. What can they teach you about your own quest? Philip traced the ancient lines, feeling a connection surge through him, a pull toward those who had walked this path before him. Questions swirled in his mind. Were they too afraid? Did they wrestle with their own doubts? In their search, might they have found solace in the very things they sought? Gathering this newfound wisdom, Philip turned to the traveler, a question beginning to take shape in his heart. What if I don't find an answer? What if the journey reveals only more questions? The traveler smiled softly, his gaze understanding. That is the beauty of faith, dear Philip. The journey often reveals not solutions but deeper layers of wonder, sparking even further inquiry. Embrace the unknown, for it is within those mysteries that true transformation unfolds. As they stood before the rock, the sun casting its first rays of light across the land, Philip felt a stirring of resolve. Could he trust his own journey enough to embrace the questions that lay ahead? Was the quest for understanding itself a divine calling? And in following this path, what truths might emerge from the depths of his heart, waiting to be unveiled? As the dawn fully broke, painting the desert in warm hues of gold and amber, Philip stood before the ancient rock, cradled by the whispers of time and longing. He felt the life around him pulse, resonating with potential, like the very heart of creation beating into the expanse. With each etched symbol beneath his fingers, he could sense the echoes of souls who had traversed these lands, seeking answers, wrestling with their own doubts. They had turned their hearts toward the divine, yearning for revelations that often felt elusive, yet sacred. Then, a profound stillness enveloped him, deepening his awareness. In that moment, he understood that the search for truth, regardless of the questions it posed, was as essential as the answers themselves. It was a dance with faith, a rhythm set by the pulse of the universe that favored all seekers. Turning to his guide, Philip recognized the unbreakable bond forged in the crucible of their shared journey. I feel alive with possibility, he said, the words pouring forth like water from a newly discovered spring. Yet as I embrace this calling to be a bridge, to inspire others through faith, I realize I am still filled with questions and uncertainties. How can I lead, when I navigate my own wilderness? The traveler looked deeply into Philip's eyes, a smile touching his lips that carried the weight of ancient wisdom. It is precisely in your authentic embrace of uncertainty that others will see the light, he replied, gentle yet firm. For the authenticity of one who wanders in search is a beacon to those who feel lost. Every question you carry is an invitation for souls to ponder alongside you. Your vulnerability will resonate with their struggles, becoming a channel through which hope may flow. The warming sun struck Philip's shoulders, and he felt a powerful surge of courage welling within him. The journey was not merely about conquering fear or finding definitive answers, it was about walking with others, holding space for their uncertainties as they explored their own faith. I am but a humble servant, Philip said, letting the weight of his realization settle. If through my own unease and inquiry I awaken hope, perhaps I fulfill my purpose. Yes, the traveler affirmed, to serve is to recognize that we are all interconnected, each soul illuminating the path for another in the journey of faith. Your willingness to embrace this truth will inspire them to find their own light. Philip's heart swelled as he looked out over the vastness of the desert, an unshakable clarity emerging from the depths of his spirit. The beauty of the barren landscape, once overwhelming, now appeared infused with divine potential, a reminder that life flourishes in even the harshest of conditions. His own path, laden with uncertainties and aspirations, came alive with meaning. Each question he dared to ask would not only uncover his faith but would knit him together with the tapestry of life's yearning for connection and truth. With newfound resolve, Philip turned back toward the traveler. Guide, what is the next step in this journey? Where shall I go from here? The traveler raised a hand, gesturing to the horizon stretching endlessly before them. Follow with a heart unafraid, dear Philip. Deep within the heart of the desert lies a village, a gathering place where seekers converge, longing for understanding. Navigate through this land, share your journey, and speak with sincerity. Each encounter could be a moment where your faith shines, igniting flames in others that have long awaited the opportunity to burn brightly. With his path illuminated by the traveler's words, Philip felt excitement bubbling within him. I will not shy away from the wilderness nor the questions that await. I will step boldly into this sacred moment, trusting that the Spirit carries me forward. As they began their journey anew, the desert resonated with a deeper melody, an orchestration of courage, sorrow, and purpose echoing across each dune. Each step anchored him in the present and propelled him toward a future woven by divine hands, entwining his fate with those standing in the shadows of uncertainty. Together, they ventured onward, the traveler and the disciple, witnessing the transformative power of the desert, where both silence and song converged. Philip could feel the energy of each question he voiced unfurling like wings, ready to take flight into the hearts of those who yearned for connection. And as each grain of sand whispered stories of resilience, Philip came to realize a profound truth: sometimes, faith acts not in the absence of doubt, but rather as an embrace, one that guides the seeker through shadows toward light as they embark on the sacred journey of discovery. In the embrace of the divine presence surrounding him, Philip sensed that this journey was an invitation to rise from a crucible of uncertainty into a life woven with purpose. Embracing the paradox of his humanity, he stepped forward, ready to inspire and be inspired, to lead not as one with all the answers but as a companion in the unfolding journey of faith. The echoes of the past would guide him, and the promise of the future lay before him, an uncharted landscape where the light of truth awaited to illuminate every uncertain step. With the sun rising steadily, Philip looked towards the horizon. The story of his faith was only beginning, and in the beautiful chaos of existence, the divine resolution awaited him just beyond the vast golden sands. He would forge ahead, trusting that his journey was, indeed, the very bridge between worlds, an echo of hope for the hearts of all those who sought a flicker of light amid their own wilderness.